A family consisting of a father, son, and daughter went on a dive adventure into the Twin Caves. Things took a drastic turn when they dived deeper into the cave and they started to kick up silt. Stay tuned to the end of this video as we reveal more about the incidents of this family diving tragedy. Merritt's Mill Pond is located in Jackson County, some distance away from Marianna, Florida. It has 7 springs spread over a 4-mile-long pond, including the Twin Caves. 2 connected but distinct caverns make up this spectacular diving spot. The northern opening is about 18.5 feet, and the southern opening is shallower. Both openings are in a calm depression at the bottom of the mill pond, which is about 50 feet north to south and 25 feet east to west. Freshwater springs may be found in both caves, and they both have air spaces at the ends. The water in Merritt's Mill Pond is generally turquoise blue and very clear. The 2 openings are covered by this water, and there are some plants around them. The bottom of the cave is filled with sand and limestone, which can cause a silted cave when it's kicked up, as we will see in this video. In August 2012, a diver named Raymond went for a diving adventure into the Twin Caves together with his daughter Alexandra and his son. The father was an open water diving instructor. His son and daughter were just in the college age range. They hired a pontoon boat from Cave Adventures. The dive shop owner, Ed Sorensen, advised them not to enter the Twin Caves as open water divers, since it's only appropriate for certified cave divers. Twin Caves are prone to silting, and it is very dangerous for inexperienced divers to dive into the cave system. The 3 family divers weren't the only ones who made their way to the cave. Some other divers had been into the cave and were just coming out when they were about to enter it. They entered the water gracefully with not much difficulty as they were doing open water diving, but at some point they decided to go further into the cave, neglecting the advice from the dive shop owner. As they were entering the cave, Andrea, a cave diver, her husband, and a diving buddy were exiting the cave. They were diving high up in the cave to reduce the chance to kick up silt, which is common at the bottom of the cave. Andrea saw the 3 family divers entering the cave, but assumed they didn't see her and her fellow divers. One of the things that can affect divers in this type of cave is entering the cave when others are leaving. Their activities would have caused a certain amount of silt within the cave, and this will definitely affect visibility. Alexandra was about 20 feet into the cave with her father and brother following closely behind when they passed Andrea and her diving group. Alexandra was carrying a single cylinder and a flashlight, which she used to light up the water, and was amazed by the stunning view of the cave. As they were open water divers, they used the up and down flutter-style kicks, which started to stir up the silt, and within a short time, the visibility dropped to 0. She thought if she kept swimming, the silt would clear out. Unfortunately, it was getting worse, and suddenly the lovely family diving adventure soon turned into the worst-case scenario when they found themselves in a life-threatening situation. Alexandra could not see anything, and she started to breathe heavily. She turned around to look for her father and brother, but she couldn't find them. She panicked and started to kick even harder, causing more silt into the cave. At this point, she couldn't even see her own hand anymore and got herself into a nightmare situation. When the silt filled up the cave, resulting in very poor visibility, Raymond lost his daughter Alexandra. He dove further into the cave looking for her. Fortunately, he was able to find her and signaled her that they needed to get out of the cave immediately. However, due to the silt, they couldn't even see each other's faces. Therefore, Raymond grabbed his daughter tight and started swimming in one direction. No idea if this direction was the correct way out. Suddenly, Raymond felt a wall and started to move along this wall. While doing this, he realized that they could hit something sharp which could damage their diving equipment. This could cause an even more dangerous situation, so he adjusted his air tank and line to protect his gear. While doing this, he briefly let go of his daughter Alexandra. When he finished, he reached out for her, but she was gone. He panicked, but thought she might have swum further in the direction they were going. So he also continued. Eventually, he was able to reach the entrance of the cave and surface safely. Unfortunately, when he surfaced, Alexandra wasn't there. Before Raymond left the cave, Andrea and her group were exiting the cave. They were swimming high up in the cave because of the heavy silt on the bottom of the cave. Only a few feet from the exit, something suddenly touched her arms, and she saw a light beam in her face. It was the fins of Raymond's son. Andrea signaled to him to leave the cave, and within a few minutes he was able to get to the surface. Andrea and her husband, too, exited the cave using touch contact since they could no longer see themselves. Their other partner exited the cave through another opening, and the three met on the surface. The three dive buddies could only see the son at the surface and asked what they were doing. The son was in shock because he lost his father and sister in the cave. He told them their father knew what they were doing and they should call emergency services because his father and sister needed help in the silted cave. A few moments later, Raymond also surfaced and he swam over to them. He asked them if they had seen Alexandra, but they all didn't know where Alexandra was. Raymond was in shock when he realized his daughter must have gotten lost in the silted cave. They returned to the entrance of the cave in search of the young girl, but they were only making matters worse by causing more silt to accumulate. When they realized that their own lives were already in danger, they returned to the surface to call out for help to the Cave Adventures dive shop nearby. Luck shone on them because Ed Sorensen, an experienced cave diver and a great cave rescuer, was on Merritt's Mill Pond preparing for a cave diving class with his students at Jackson Blue Spring, which is on the same pond. Ed left Jackson Blue Spring, which was just a mile's journey to the Twin Caves. He arrived at the incident site in less than 20 minutes after they called him for help. He was quickly briefed about the location of the girl by her father before entering the cave. When he entered, he discovered that the Twin Caves had been covered with about a 60-foot circle of mud. But because he had several experiences in this kind of situation and has been diving in this cave for a long time, he deployed his reel and made his way to the gold line that's inside the cave, even in conditions with close to zero visibility. He began to search for the lost girl from this gold line, and a lot of thoughts ran through his mind. Of course, who wouldn't think wild in such a situation, where you know you are jeopardizing your very life for the sake of others? But Ed had been known for diving in places where other divers wouldn't go, and he has always been successful in every one of his rescue operations. He promptly dove into the silt-filled cave, which was almost completely dark and everywhere filled with mud. Although he hardly saw anything before him, he continued to search for Alexandra, who must have been in a great panic. When a victim is in a panicked state, it becomes more risky for you to rescue him. He tied off his primary spool and deployed a safety spool to start a zigzag search. He continued to dive down slowly, having the safety of the girl in mind. Just a few minutes into the search, he stumbled upon the girl who was standing in the silt. She put her head in a pocket of air at the top of the cave. The water in the cave was almost reaching her chin, and she no longer had a regulator in her mouth. Though breathing in air from this kind of pocket was dangerous, she possibly did not have other alternatives than to breathe from the air pocket she had found. Upon finding her, Ed told the girl to stay calm and hold on to his arms so that he could bring her out safely. She did just as she was instructed, and both of them made their way to the entrance of the cave. Upon reaching the entrance, they dove upstream to the surface. All that were waiting for them on the surface were greatly surprised at the speed of the rescue, which was just within 10 minutes. But at the same time, they were all filled with great joy that Alexandra was rescued safely. She was very cold and shivering, but she had no further complications. While alone in the dark, cold cave, the girl became very confused and almost gave up on her survival. She had no thermal protection, which could have kept her warm in that cold water. She had to devise means to keep herself warm by kicking and moving around. She was left with less than 1/3 of air in her cylinder. She thought she would drown as soon as she ran out of air, but help came for her, and she was rescued alive. Raymond was sincerely grateful to Ed Sorensen, who had just saved his daughter from dying in cold, dark water. Alexandra, who was just a few minutes away from drowning and knew the agony she just passed through before Ed found her, also showed her sincere gratitude to her rescuer. She continued to send him letters of gratitude for several months, and her father offered Ed some money, but he refused it. Raymond later donated a huge amount of money to the Divers Alert Network. For the sake of safety, Divers are advised to stay within their levels of training and to follow guidelines to avoid stories that touch the heart. We would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, take a dive on the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell icon so you get notified when we come back with another exciting cave diving story.